But there's one particular kind of code called an equidistant letter sequence. Well, what on earth is an equidistant letter sequence? I'll show you here. There's a lot of fanciful and contrived stuff that's been popularized in some books that's nonsense. It's too bizarre to be accepted on the one hand, and yet too impressive to be totally ignored. The problem is that professional competence in cryptology is essential to adequately evaluate them. So we're not going to go down some of those paths, because that's a whole complicated area. Let's take some simple examples. What is an ELS? An equidistant letter sequence. It's a sequence of letters that are equidistant within some message. And I'll give you a simple example of one. One of the experts in this field is a Dr. Rips. Anyway, the sentence that's contrived here is, Rips explained that each code is a case of adding every fourth letter to form a word. That's the sentence. That's the message. What message is hidden inside? Well, take a look at every fourth letter. There's an R, then an E, A, and then a D. And when you take those every fourth letter, it says, read the code. Now, this is just a little example to give you the idea that you can embed a message inside another message by indulging in what's called an equidistant letter sequence. It is a terrible, inadequate way of hiding a message because they're easily broken, frankly. But it is a way to communicate something hidden, and it's the simplest one. There are more complicated ones. I'll spare you those tonight. We'll just take a look at this here. Let's take an example of one of these. This is the beginning of the book of Genesis. Now, Hebrew, all languages flow towards Jerusalem. All nations east of Jerusalem go from right to left. That Hebrew, Arabic, Aramaic, Sanskrit, you name it, even Chinese. All nations that are west of Jerusalem go from left to right. Not only English, Latin, Cyrillic, Greek, you name it. So I just thought I'd mention that to you. I'm not sure what you'll do with that piece of information, but the main point is that Hebrew goes, from our point of view, backwards, okay? Well, there are 4 letters in Hebrew that spell the word Torah. Torah are the 5 books of Moses. The most venerated part of the Old Testament is the Torah. And it's spelled in Hebrew with 4 letters, a Tau, a Vav, a Resh, and a He. And they approximate a T-O-R-H in our language. Okay. Well, you go in Genesis to the first Tau, and that's what we would consider a T. Then you count 49 letters, 7 squared. Count 49 letters. You come to a Vav, which is sort of like an O. And then you count 49 letters, and you come to a Resh. And then you count 49 letters again, and you come to a He. And that happens to spell Torah in Hebrew. So if we look at that, well, so what? I mean, it's kind of weird, right? And that could have just happened accidentally by the statistics of letters, maybe. Well, you go to the next book, book of Exodus, and you discover the same thing happens again. First Tau, count 49 letters, you get a Vav. Count 49 letters again, you get a Resh. Count 49 letters again, you get a He. And once again, you get Torah. Now you're getting a little uncomfortable. Whatever the probabilities of it happening by accident before, they just got squared. Okay? If that was 1 in a million chance, this is a 1 in a trillion chance or whatever. So you go to the next book, Leviticus, and it doesn't happen. You feel a sigh of relief, probably. You get to the book of Numbers, and something even stranger occurs. The same thing happens spelled backwards. The first thought that runs through your mind is, who had time on their hands to even find this out? You know, with a computer, it's easy, but doing it manually is another. That's a chore. You go to the last book, Deuteronomy, you discover the same thing happens again. It's spelled backwards. Now you stand back from this, 49, 7 squared. You have these letter sequences. Genesis, Exodus, Torah is spelled forward. Numbers and Deuteronomy, it's spelled backwards. That's kind of weird. Did that happen by accident? Let's take another look at Leviticus, and we won't take 49, we'll take the square root of that. 49 is 7 squared, let's just take 7 itself. And we know there's a Yod, Yod, He, Vav, He. The unpronounceable name of God. Wow, Yahweh, if you will. There are other conclusions. But anyway, so we have Genesis, Exodus, going from left to right, Numbers, Deuteronomy, going backwards, and Yahweh in between, and we discover that the Torah always points to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, or Jehovah. Now, the question before us then, aside from what point is this? It's a design. Is it by random accident? No, I think this is beyond coincidence. This is evidence of design. But it has huge implications because you take one letter out and it falls apart. Not only did Moses receive the 5 books of Moses from God, I believe he got it letter by letter. One letter missing or one letter too many, and it doesn't happen.